Welcome back. I wanted to talk about how we can actually truly apply this notion of unconditional love, because that is really where we are from. And it's hard when we're in the 3D earth to see that kind of unconditional love here. And we get glimmers of it. We see it in movies, we see it when we read books, and it touches our heart. We're moved by these displays of unconditional love. When you see a good character decide to love an evil character or somebody who portrays themselves as so, even with the acts that they have done. And if you notice something, there is a pattern there. It seems that with the power of love, when a good character pushes back their judgment, then all of a sudden they see a change of heart, a change of mind. And maybe not all of a sudden, it can take some time. But that's not the point. We really don't want to love others thinking that we can change them. We always want to go into a relationship or just walk through our daily life thinking, I'm just going to do the best that I can. And I'm going to be loving for me. And the idea that it is you expressing your authentic self and your higher self. And this is the goal that we really want to see happen in humanity. People expressing their higher self. Now, how do we do that with all of the crazy, terrible crimes that are on earth, in which people can't really wrap their head around actually loving those evil acts? I'm going to be very honest. You are not supposed to love their evil acts or their deeds. If you ever are in the position of teaching your child between right and wrong, you'll notice that there does come a time to actually bring forward discernment. We are not supposed to just blindly accept the wrongful acts and the evil acts of others. When a child hits another child, we simply say to the child, that was not a good choice. I understand you were mad. I understand that you didn't know how to control your feelings, but what would have been a better choice? And always their answer, unless they decide to not look within and they're just in that type of mood, but usually their answer is, well, I should have gotten a teacher, or I should have talked to them. And yes, that's exactly right. You cannot love the evil acts of others. So don't even try. Don't even try to bring forward compassion or kindness or love into the actual acts that people do. The way that killers have treated their fellow souls. You cannot love those acts. But what you can love and what you can reach a deeper understanding about is if you can look beyond those acts. Not say that they don't matter, because they surely do, both in the material world as well in the spiritual world. But if you can look beyond their evil acts and you can look at the person, you start to peel away their layers and you start to see what was the cause of that evil act. What is the root? What is the core? It is not because they know themselves as part of Source and are in unity consciousness and just decide to express and display themselves in murderous rages. They are completely unaware and asleep while they are on the third dimension of Earth. The reason is because they might have had a terrible childhood and it might have been very troubling for them. But that's no excuse. Because a lot of people actually have terrible childhoods, and yet they do not kill people. They do not turn into a psychopath that hurts others. So what is it about them that makes them make those choices? Is it because they're God and they're simply wanting to experience their life as a murderer? It is because we are extensions from this universal consciousness that people would call God, or the prime source. But we ourselves are creating. The problem is that because we have split off and have extended ourselves so far down into the lower dimensions to be physical for a temporary time, we get stuck here. many souls actually get stuck here in 3D, in which they go through their terrible childhood and they start to blame their parents. They start to hold that resentment. There is no spirituality coursing through their veins. There's no trying to understand the inner workings of the universe and why they are going through these things. One of the greatest benefits of the New Age spiritual movement is that people are taking a look at their choices and are seeing things in hindsight of why did this happen, because there is a cause and effect. It's not that you chose that terrible experience to have. It's that you temporarily forgot who you really were when you're here. So we are in the age of awakening, where we are going to see more and more souls rejoin back with the unity consciousness and the whole collective. Let's go back to all of those murderers in this world. Let's go back to anybody that you can imagine that has already done some evil act and a crime against humanity. How do we actually love them? How do we actually apply the idea of unconditional love that Jesus and other ascended masters have taught? You have to look at them away from their actions and look at them for the soul that they are. The hurt, the lost, the neglected soul. The soul that has forgotten their own inner light, their own potential to actually create their own joy. Even though maybe their childhood was very difficult. And many of the murders that happen are really an act of revenge, feeling so far removed emotionally because they spent years and years disassociating themselves that they don't care who they hurt because it's a temporary release for them. It's a way of saying, I'm more powerful. It's a way for overcompensating for a feeling of being powerless, a feeling that they lack in some kind of way. So when an awakened person or somebody who chooses to be an actual truly loving person and their most highest self can actually look past all of the evil acts that they did, not make excuses for it, but simply understand where it came from. That soul got lost in the 3D. And it's not over for them. They always have a chance to turn their lives around, to wake up to some type of spiritual revelation inside, to say, that was not me. That was not truly who I am. But I was hurt, I was lost, I was confused, and I only thought about my inner circle, my emotional world, and the people that were close to me, and I didn't care about anything else in the world. So there was no room to extend outward to other souls that they would hurt. That's why mostly serial killers and murderers and people like that will actually target total strangers. They have absolutely no sympathy or empathy who they take. So it's a very sad situation that they have. Good news though, our world as a collective energy is actually having all souls awaken at the same time. Everyone is at different levels, but we are all moving at the same time. Everybody who does something, there's a ping of guilt. There's a slight light in the consciousness just nudging them and telling them that this is not who they are. Tolkien knew this too as an evolved soul. He understood. You can see this evidence with his character Gollum. And unfortunately, he got a hold of the ring that made him go crazy. Now, one could argue that the ring was the thing that was possessing him, taking over him and making him do these things, such as kill his best friend for the ring in the very beginning, or also playing tricks on the people in his town, and then also, of course, trying to kill Bilbo and Frodo to take back the ring. We can make the argument and say that the ring was possessing him, but we must always remember that he was also this way before the ring. And Frodo also had the ring, but the ring had no power over Frodo to make him do evil deeds or actions. Although we see a little bit of the temptation, he was able to completely get over that temptation himself, whereas Gollum was not. He was ready to kill Frodo and Bilbo just to have that ring. So you see a difference in character with them both. So when Frodo is about to kill Gollum, Gandalf has a famous quote that we can apply to everyone on earth that we may judge as doing evil acts. And Gandalf says, he stops Frodo from killing Gollum, and he says, "Some that live deserve death. Some that die deserve life. Can you give that to them? And do not be so quick to end another's life." In the idea that we should never judge who should live and who should die, even by their actions of hurting others, because it affects our souls. When we act like the judgers, the harsh judgers, without any love in our heart, without any compassion or sympathy for others, and without any understanding of what that person went through in order to become the corrupted soul that it is at this point. If we forget ourselves, our spirits of being loving beings, well then we are no better than them. And that's really what Gandalf was trying to say. Throughout the book, you learn that Gollum also was shown mercy by the elves. That when he was captured in the Mirkwood jail, they could have killed that creature. They could have gotten rid of him completely. But they thought that maybe it would be best to give him time away. And so they locked him away, and they were hoping that it would change him. But unfortunately, it didn't. The damage was done. He also was that type of character before. So it's really hard to change unless he actually wanted to change. What makes his character so remarkable is when Frodo can see the glimmers of goodness in him. He wants to be good. You can see that. And that's sometimes how we are with children. We see when children do really naughty things, we see it in their eyes. They want to be good. They just need to learn how. So it is the job of the older souls, the ones who awaken, to show them love. How do we actually apply compassion? How do we apply empathy and understanding to others? Even though they had no sense of awareness when they were doing those evil acts, and they also did not have a sense of awareness when they were blaming their father or their mother, their poor upbringing, and they were blaming their situation. They did not take the time to understand, well, what did their father and their mother experience as well, to make them be a negligent parent or a parent who was abusive or molested them, which then causes the cycle to return to that child, and then they grow up and they can make the choice of whether they take their pain and they become a good person with it. They decide, I want to live, I want joy, I want to help others, I want to help myself. Or they can choose to take that pain, to push it down, and just let anger take over that pain, so that the only type of relief that they have is killing others. But they find soon, every killer finds that as soon as they take a life, they feel it inside on a very deep level. Even though they hide it, even though in court there's been documentation that some killers feel no remorse at all. There's no way that you can take another life and not feel something for them. But our job is not to understand what made them want to do those horrible, unspeakable acts. Because we as souls that would not choose that path would not be able to put ourselves into that situation. but our job is to understand them as a soul that is also in search of love, self-actualization, understanding, and connection with others, even though they do it in the worst way. And they do it in a way that doesn't even show that at all, that is their goal. It becomes the job of the awakened to actually demonstrate what unconditional love is. Because when we can show unconditional love to those who do evil and wrong on earth, not excuse their behavior, and certainly not love their actions. You would never want to love the action of a child hitting another child. You're not going to love that action. But what you will love is them. You will see them beyond the action for someone that just didn't know any better at that time. And I'm talking about an awareness and a spiritual awareness that makes them understand who they really are at the core. That if we are all from Source, this wonderful Source that has created the entire universe, then we are always moving towards being creative and producing life and bringing forward love and joy and bliss and new experiences to experience. That's what feels good to us. That's what we enjoy actually doing on earth. Some people who hurt others say that that is their joy, but it doesn't last. It only is their joy in that very moment. And the only reason why they take a life of another is so that they can temporarily feel more powerful than another. But deep inside, they feel powerless. They have not awakened to their true self. The collective that we come from is not experiencing itself through those murderers, through those that do harm to others. It is experiencing itself through their soul of awakening and learning and growing. Souls are always on different levels of experience, consciousness, and true enlightenment in realizing who you really are. If you can understand my videos and truly know where I am coming from, well then you are there. You're a soul that has traveled through many lifetimes, and you're at this point in which you're really truly ready to embody the collective consciousness within you, to actually integrate all aspects of it into you. You do not have to be someone that loves evil acts or those who do evil and unspeakable things to one another, but you can certainly understand them. And understanding and compassion and empathy is another way of showing love. Not judgment, but understanding where they are coming from. If Gandalf did not understand that at some point Frodo would have some type of showdown or a battle with Gollum, and that there was a reason to keep him alive till the very end. And what do we find out? At the very end, Gollum helps dispose of the ring. So there is always a true meaning behind everything, and it is always working itself out to actually show that everything comes from a good source of creational energy that produced the entire beautiful universe that you see before you, and produces little babies and gives the opportunity for life forms to exist and experience. We're all from that energy. And if you can tap into that, you can have this unlimited reserve of understanding and emotional cooperation with the universe. And that will in turn make sure that your experiences on Earth, even though you may be dealt horrible cards, have a really hard and trying situation that comes to you, you will know how to react to it without losing a sense of who you really are deep inside. Because that is the name of the game. You are going to have terrible things happen to you in life. We always are up against that. But the name of the game is how you can achieve victory. And the true victory and the triumph over those obstacles is just simply remaining who you are and not allowing those bad experiences to actually transform you or corrupt you into something that you are really not, but that it is a product of an emotional reaction. The idea that people throw their entire lives away just for one little moment of getting rid of someone that they were mad at. All of these gang members that shoot other gang members, just for that one little moment, there's a sense of, yes, I got rid of them. But then you are left with your entire lifetime to think about that one single moment. That was not really you. So how do I know all of this right now? Because I can tell you with experience that some of my worst moments in my own life, in which I have acted in a way that I was not proud of afterwards, I realized at that very moment in time when I yelled at someone, when I got so angry at someone that I could hurt them with my words, I was in an unconscious state. At that particular moment in time, I was not thinking of myself as a creator force. I was simply reacting to 3D Earth situation in front of me. That was it. But I temporarily forgot my spiritual self, and that is exactly what happens to people. There are some people that forget their spiritual self for their entire lifetime. And there are some people that go in and out of their spiritual selves. And that is the goal. When humanity gets to the point where everyone can always be aware, they will no longer harm one another. There will be no instant reaction from an emotional stimuli of this world, because there will be higher thought behind. Just as you and just as I can have something happen to us where someone can threaten us, can make us really mad. But when we are truly awakened at that point in time, we can remember who we really are. And after a while, it becomes involuntary, where you just are your higher self on earth now, and you don't have to click the switch on and off and remember. But it is our job, the ones who can remember ourselves coming from the source of divine love, to know and understand and have compassion for the life choices and the life experiences of others. So I hope that this gave you some more clarity and an easier way of actually understanding, well, how can we truly love those who do evil to others? How can we actually love everyone unconditionally? And the answer is to always see them as their true selves, to look beyond the 3D actions that have taken place because they have reacted from their emotions and not using their higher mind connected to their higher self. If a higher entity from a high dimension, let's say the 8th dimension, came down to earth and looked at several souls that have done evil acts to others, that entity from the 8th dimension would have the perspective, the life experiences, the higher wisdom to actually be able to see into that soul's life and understand the core of their decisions, that their decision to kill and rape and destroy the lives of young women came from a need to feel dominating over women. That is what a higher dimensional entity than 3D Earth would be able to see. And that is how you can be towards others around you on earth right now. You can actually be a walking representation of the higher dimensions by simply looking past people's actions in this 3D earth and actually going towards their soul and looking at them for a point of consciousness that they actually represent in the collective. But they got too consumed, too lost within the 3D material world. Many of the jobs of the light workers, the way showers, the spiritualists, the mystics, all of those that are really awakening and jumping into roles of being a guide or a teacher, and even if you don't do it professionally and you simply try to help others, anyone who is truly awakening right now, it becomes your job to just remind others, remind the other souls about who they really are. And pretty soon we will not have so many that are stuck in unawareness and are constantly reacting from their emotional 3D self instead of engaging their higher mind, using logic and reason, but also engaging the spiritual self. That is how we can get past the judgment of evil people, but actually see them for who they really are. I encourage everyone to practice this. If anyone wrongs you in your life, if anyone hurts you in your life, talk to them about their actions. Be upset about the way they treated you, but then I want you to look past that action. Look deep into their soul and see that soul for who they really are, and try to look and understand the experiences that they had. Ask them questions if you need to. Many of them might open up because they too are looking for guidance or help, and they don't even know it because they are in the darkness searching for the light. And the light simply is to feel powerful, to get out of this pit that they are in that causes them to hurt others. Hopefully we can start doing that to all souls on earth, and then we will have the peaceful society filled of higher dimensional beings that I believe that we are heading towards. So, Han and Lei for watching, and I will see you all on the next video.